Hey everybody, welcome back to Auto Scholar with Mr. B. I'm Mr. B, and today we're talking about cheap, affordable used cars and how you can get you one and how you can avoid some of the pitfalls that people are falling into with these vehicles that are no good. So just to give you a little background, I've been looking for a cheap vehicle for a family member of mine, and I was really looking for a hybrid, but they were really out of the price range where we were looking for. So I had a friend tell me, hey, I'm selling this Honda, come and check it out. I took a look at it, didn't even drive the vehicle. I just trusted him when he said it ran good, it shifted out good, and the AC worked. And I paid $3,000 for this 2011 Honda Fit. Now this is a base model Fit. It has 134,000 miles on it, and it's in kind of rough shape. But in this market right now, $3,000 for a vehicle that runs, drives, and has working air conditioning is a pretty good deal. So I got the car, brought it home, sat on my driveway for about a week. I brought it up to the school where I work at yesterday and started kind of picking through it and seeing what we need to do to remedy some of the problems that the vehicle has. And I want to get this vehicle safe and reliable for my family member. So I'm gonna take you along for the ride. So yesterday I just kind of looked around underneath it. I did a quick inspection, and it's just like a nurse in an emergency room, how they're triaging a patient. You just kind of see what hurts and what's not hurt and kind of prioritize a list of what you're going to be doing to the vehicle. But this can easily be used as a pre-purchase inspection. I do recommend you driving the vehicle and getting it inspected by a qualified technician or yourself if you're able to do that. I bought this vehicle without driving it. I trusted the guy I bought it from, and it seemed to work out, but that generally is not a good rule to follow. So let me go ahead and take you around the vehicle and kind of show you what I got, and then we'll go over plans of what I'm planning to do, and we'll have a video series just on this vehicle, getting it back to shape to where I can give it to my family member. So what you want to do is just want to walk around the vehicle and just get the feel of the vehicle. And I actually start this, I may start this 50 yards out from the vehicle. You want to see if the vehicle's leaning, if it has any huge flaws you can see from that area. And you can see right here, this is about the worst part of this vehicle. It looks like it got something caught in the wheel well, and it's kind of bended this area. And we're going to try to bend this out. As far as the cosmetics of this vehicle, it's kind of a secondary concern of mine. I'm more concerned with how it runs, how it drives, and how reliable it's going to be. Now, my family member that this car is for has a very unreliable vehicle, and we're going to try to get him out of that and get him into something nice. So first off the bat, no hubcaps. Hubcaps probably fell off a long time ago, and they weren't replaced. The paint on the roof is faded. So that's very common with cars in my area that are above 10 years old. But as far as the way the car drives, and I've driven the vehicle, and it drives pretty good. It's got some suspension noise to it, but the transmission shifts out and the engine sounds okay. Going to the inside of this vehicle, it's just kind of dirty. That's the biggest thing. There's scratches and stuff from use. And the seats are, not in the best condition, but we're going to try to clean those. Carpet looks like it's been, vacuumed, and that's about it. Back seats, kind of the same thing here. Just needs a good scrubbing, a good detail, and it'll be good to go. There's no weird smells in here or anything like that. So not going to have to whip out the ozone machine. But other than that, it seems like it's a pretty solid vehicle. Now, underneath the hood, it did not look like this. I got bored yesterday, and I just detailed underneath the hood. So you want to look underneath the hood, make sure everything is in order. Make sure nothing's loose, hanging out, gaping open. These hoses and everything look good. And you want to search for, of course, any fluid seepage, oil leaks, coolant leaks, any coolant smell underneath the hood is definitely going to be a problem, and it could be an expensive one. Battery looks fairly new on this. I did notice that when I went to crank it up the other day, the battery cable's loose and it didn't want to crank. And so I just tightened it up with my hand real quick, but that's something that we're gonna have to remedy. The fluids here look old. That brake fluid right there looks old, so we're gonna flush out the brakes and make sure they're all good. The oil was just changed on this vehicle. I found the receipt in the glove box, and service records are definitely something you want to check. If they have the service records, I would definitely want to see those. It may save you some money just in duplicate labor, you know. So if this thing's had a tune up, I'm not going to retune it up if it's only been tuned up, you know, a few miles ago. This car's obviously been in a front end accident. The paint on the bumper is a different quality as on the fenders. And you can see right here, that's riding from a junkyard. So this car's been probably in a low speed front end collision, and it's been kind of pieced together, probably not the best way. So definitely want to inspect under there and make sure we don't have any damaged components from that accident that can cause an issue. Headlights are hazy. We can polish those and get those back to working order. Normally you can get polish kits anywhere from $10 to $20 and do it yourself, or if you have a person that details your vehicles, they can normally do it as well. So body, again, you know, you can see the dents, little small dents and dings from doors in the parking lot, and those are going to detract from the value if you had a car that was valuable. But this car, you know, these cars are selling from anywhere from $6,000 to $8,000 in my area. So buying this for $3,000 is really, we've got a lot of room for making a lot of improvements to this. But other than that, all the glass works, you know, up and down, the door locks work. I only got one key, which I'm going to get probably another key made, just so we'll have a spare. The wiper's going to need to be replaced. So just all these little things are going to add up to a lot of money, but you know, you can kind of phase these things in. You don't have to polish the headlights right now, although I'd recommend it. You don't have to get windshield wipers. Just get, you know, a few things a week, and in a couple of months, you'll have a really nice car if that's what you're planning to do. So for my plans for this vehicle, first of all, this radio right here is a radio that doesn't have any Bluetooth connectivity. It doesn't have any hands-free function or anything like that. So we are definitely going to put in a better radio. I'll have a video on that soon, because I don't want my family member to be distracted while driving. So we'll put the Bluetooth and Apple CarPlay in it as well. The radio that I'm buying also has Droid capabilities, and you'll see that in a later video. You know, you're going to have like the paint coming off these buttons right here. And if it bothers you enough, you can get another set of buttons. And of course, dirt everywhere. I'm definitely going to have to scrub this thing down. I have carpet cleaner machine as well to do that, or you can just get it detailed. You know, a lot of times a detail shop for $200 or $300 can completely go over this car and make it as new as it can be without any extra parts. One thing I did notice is every single one of these tires is different. They're the same size, but they're a different brand. And also, it's amazing what a set of hubcaps will do for a car. So I've ordered a $25 set of hubcaps on Amazon to throw in this car, and we'll spray paint the wheels black just to freshen them up, and then put the hubcaps over it, and it's going to look 100 times better. Also, one thing you definitely want to look at when you get one of these vehicles is the lights on. And as you can see if I can get focus here, we have a traction light on, a throttle position a tire pressure monitoring light on. We have the ABS light on, and we have the check engine light on. So everybody is on. And I've already scanned this, and there are minor problems. We'll go into those on later videos, but that is definitely something you want to look for. As far as the air conditioning and the heat goes, you want to make sure that the temperature changes when you change this over from hot to cold. You want to make sure that the fans work in all speeds. You want to make sure that you can actually hear the AC clicking on. And you do hear, you probably can't hear it, but I did. So you can see the idle will change and everything when the air conditioning comes on. That says that the compressor is working. You can turn the lights on and just check and make sure all the interior lights are working and all that is good. But as far as safety concerns, you know, I did order all the tire pressure monitor sensors on this vehicle are dead, so I ordered those and they've come down in price a lot. The whole set of tire pressure monitors for this vehicle is only $50, so that'll be a later video as well. The ABS problem is a wheel speed sensor in the front right, so I'm going to order one of those, and that'll make the ABS and the traction light go out. And the check engine light is a coolant temperature sensor in the radiator has failed, and that will be a different video as well. So again, little small nagging problems, but all this stuff does end up costing money every time you you fix something. It's going to cost money. So you want to make sure that you're not falling in love with the vehicle, stay emotionally detached from the vehicle, and make sure that it makes financial sense for you to make these repairs. So let's go ahead and get this car racked up. We'll look up underneath it. So outside of, you know, the car running and shifting okay, another big cost to some of these older vehicles are going to be suspension parts. So what I like to do is I like to get them up in the air. This may be possible, you know, if you're looking at a vehicle. And I just do a shakedown. So I'm shaking the vehicle tires, and it's important to do this with the weight of the vehicle off of the tires. And I'm shaking it back and forth from like 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock. Okay, and that's going to be showing me if my tie rods or anything have any looseness, rack mounts, anything like that. Any of your steering components is really from your 9 to 3. Now, if you go from here to there, 12 to 6, you're going to be searching for any looseness in here in the ball joints or the strut mounts. You may want to pick the tire up like this, kind of put a little weight off of it and see if the tire actually moves up and down. Now, if you have a little wobble at any part of the clock here, that can be an indication of a wheel bearing going bad. And some wheel bearings are pretty cheap, anywhere from $25 to $50. But if you have press-in style wheel bearings, they can get a little bit expensive on the labor side of things. And I'm also checking tire condition. Again, I'd already said that these tires, all 4 of them are different from each other. But you know, check your date codes on your tires to make sure that they're not too old. You want to check for any dry rotting, anything like that. These are actually fairly cheap set of tires, about $200 for a whole set. So I'm probably just going to go ahead and replace them all because they are old and some of them are developing some dry rot cracks and things in it. And again, this is a safety item. This is literally where the rubber meets the road, and we want to make sure this is good. So make sure that all that is good. If you've got a chance, I'm not going to do this now, but if you got a chance, take the wheels off, just inspect the brakes. Brakes are fairly cheap nowadays, even if you have to put in rotors to replace, but it's just something you definitely want to kind of consider in the cost. Most economy vehicles like this, $100 to $150 per axle is going to be your price for brakes. Just go ahead and work that into your estimate of what it's going to take to get this car back to good. And also, if you have any damaged spots like this, you definitely want to inspect in there. We see we have some loose trim here, and I'm going to try to kind of flex this out a little bit and just seal it with something so we don't have any extra rust. And that's more or less just to keep this part of the vehicle from rusting away more than aesthetics go. So on the back, you can do this as well, especially if you have a multi-link suspension on whatever car that you're looking at. This car just has an axle beam in it, so really there's not a whole lot outside of a wheel bearing or maybe a strut mount in the back that would cause any issues. The front suspension is normally much more complex than the rear, and with that, it takes more time and money to fix. Also, most alignments nowadays cost anywhere from $100 to $200. So if you have any weird tire wear, if you have the edges of these tires that are worn out, either the inboard or the outboard side, you're going to have to factor in an alignment, and that's going to be extra cost as well. Let's go ahead and look underneath the vehicle and see if we find any problems there. So we're underneath the vehicle now, and I'm checking for any leaks. So it doesn't really look like we have much to speak about here as far as the leak wise. This engine looks pretty dry underneath here. But if you can see any physical engine or transmission mounts to check, just make sure that the rubber's not all cracked in here or there's nothing loose in there. And you're wanting to check the CV boots if you have a front wheel drive vehicle, and make sure that there's no boot grease leaking out of there. I see there's a leak over here. See how this is kind of greasy and dark? This boot right here is starting to split right there at the clamp. So it's probably going to need a reboot or a CV axle. And I'm looking for any time that, it's been bottomed out before. So you see that we have these rust spots here that the car has actually hit the pavement at some point. Probably, going into a restaurant, they have a sloped driveway or something like that. You want to make sure that the car has the catalytic converter on it, especially live in an emissions controlled area. Those catalytic converters are fairly expensive. And then, if you live in an area that has salt on the roads and stuff like that, look for any rust. This vehicle just has a little surface rust here, but we're in the south part of the United States, so there's really not a whole lot of rust under here. Check the exhaust. Exhaust is fairly cheap to fix if you don't have a problem with your catalytic converter, but you want to run down the line and make sure you don't have any exhaust leaks. Of course, that will come with a louder sound out of the car. And then you're checking the back. Again, just making sure if it looks out of place, it probably is. So you definitely want to look and just inspect everything. The brake lines going in, make sure there's no leaks. The hoses and everything, the brake hoses going in. Make sure that you don't see any leakage or seepage. Any leakage or seepage you see out of brakes is bad. So, if you got a little oil leak or something like that, it's not really that big of a deal. But if you have a brake leak, yeah, there's definitely a problem. And as you can see, the different tires on the back here, this tire actually looks pretty good. Looks like it's fairly new. This tire on the back got some age on it. It's all the way down to the wear bar right here. And if you're inspecting your tires, you may see these wear bars across here. And if they are level with the tread, the tire definitely needs to be replaced. So these tires are cheap, but some tires can be, upwards to $200 to $300 a piece, depending on the quality. So you definitely want to add that in to, your estimate on getting this vehicle back to being 100% roadworthy. Besides visual inspection, which is a very important thing that we do every time we look at one of these vehicles for purchase, you definitely want to test drive the vehicle. And, when I test drove this vehicle, I bought this before I test drove it, but I'm pretty capable in my mechanical abilities, and I knew about how much everything cost in this car. So I made kind of a risk at buying this vehicle without test driving it. However, it did work in my favor. I was able to get a car, and it's got some pretty good bones, and we're going to be able to go through it and fix a few things and get it back on the road. But when you're doing your test drive, you definitely want to use all of your senses. So the owner of the vehicle may want to go with you while you're doing a test drive, which is pretty customary. So don't feel alarmed or anything like that. But normally what I try to do is on the test drive, I don't say a word. I make sure the radio works, but I don't turn it on. I make sure that the air conditioning works, but I want to make sure that I have it down to a level to where I can hear anything that's going on. But also I'm looking, I'm seeing, I'm feeling, I'm touching the vehicle. When I go over a bump, do I hear any noise? Does the vehicle pull to the left or to the right? When I hit the brakes, what happens? Is it a good braking action? Do I have vibration, in the steering wheel, or do I have vibration in the back of the vehicle, which can indicate a brake rotor or drum that's out of round and will need service before we actually put this car on the road for real? Also, I want to test drive in a variety of conditions. So, you want to go through a parking lot, try to hit a speed bump or a pothole or something like that to get the car to flex on the suspension, to hear for anything that may be causing a problem. Also, I want to get this car up to a highway speed, 55, 65 miles per hour if you can. Is there any vibrations? Is there any wind noise coming through anywhere? Is there any, is the car have enough power to do what, you have to do through the day? Also, some problems can present themselves at higher speeds. Some problems can present at lower. So you definitely want to, maybe go through a neighborhood at 25, 30 miles per hour as well, and see how the car is responding to your inputs. Is the transmission shifting well? I have turned down a lot of vehicles just because the transmission seemed a little off. And normally when the transmission seems a little off, it may be on its way out, and that can be thousands of dollars to replace. You don't want to buy one of these cars for a couple of $1,000s and then have to put $5,000-$6,000 into it to bring it back to operation. There may be better cars out there that are more suitable for your budget and your wants and needs. So definitely don't go and, I wouldn't go buy the first car I found. I would shop around a lot. This environment right now, Kelley Blue Book is completely out the window. People ask whatever they want to for these cars. You just have to make sure that it's going to be a good investment for you. These cars are a big investment and they can be a big liability. So I have bought cars and a week later the engine blows, the transmission blows. We bought a car a few months ago that the guy admitted, hey, the transmission isn't working, it needs to be rebuilt. We bought it at a good enough price. We rebuilt the transmission, we put it back in the vehicle, and the engine was bad too. So if we would have known that, we wouldn't have bought the vehicle. So again, inspection, test drive, and don't get too emotionally attached to this vehicle. Be prepared to walk every time that you go to buy a vehicle. And that's new, used, anything. You definitely want it to make sense to you financially and not fall in love with it and try to justify your actions afterwards. So the only thing we have left now, say we have driven this vehicle and it is going to fit our needs, it's well within our budget for any restoration work or anything that we have to do on it, and it seems like a good fit. Now we get to negotiations. So negotiating the price of the vehicle right now is pretty tough, because as soon as you put one of these on Marketplace or Craigslist, or just mention that you have this for sale, you're going to get offers. And as a seller, I never negotiate selling a vehicle unless you're there in person and you've driven the vehicle, because I don't feel it's fair to either side to negotiate outside of that. You may run into a buyer that is 100% firm on the price, and if they say that up front, be prepared to pay that price. If you are going to look at a car that's advertised as firm and it's $5,000 and you only have $4,000, probably wouldn't waste your time on that, because when I sell stuff, I've got a vehicle right now I've got for sale for $2,500 firm, and I will not take a dime less than $2,500. And so if you're not prepared to pay that to me, then you just won't get the vehicle. So, but there is wiggle room. A lot of people may, put a car that they want $4,000 for out for $4,500. And it's nice to ask, even before you go look at it, hey, is there any negotiation room? If they say no, just be prepared to pay the cost. If they say, yeah, I might go down a couple $100, or, less I'll take is, $4,200. Okay, well then be prepared to take that as well. So definitely want to make sure. I also, just for security reasons, I recommend meeting in a neutral location. I never allow anybody to come to my house to buy a vehicle, and I don't like going to other people's houses to buy a vehicle. So meet me in a parking lot, maybe near a police station, or in a well-traveled area in your town to do these deals. And you may want to take somebody with you as well. There is a security aspect to buying a car from a private party that you normally don't run into at a dealership or at a used car lot. So definitely, be safe about it. Watch out for scams as well. There's a lot of scams out there right now that want to, I'm going to send you this code, and you send me the code back and you type it in and all this other stuff. And that is just used to take over your account. So if you see a deal online that's too good to be true, definitely look into who is posting it. How long have they been on Facebook? How long have they've been doing this type of business? What else are they selling? What are their sales reviews on Marketplace? Things like that. There's definitely a lot of bad actors out there, and they don't even own the car that they're trying to sell to you. They're just trying to get a deposit, or maybe get the whole price of the vehicle paid up front. Then they disappear and they have your money and you don't have a car. So definitely be careful out there. If it sounds too good to be true, run it by one of your friends, run it by your local car guy that you know, and see if it makes sense that this car is selling for this price. There are deals out there, but there are a lot more scams than deals. So definitely be careful, be safe out there, and don't spend money on a car that's not going to work for you. That's all I have for you today. And if you like what you see, please try to give me a like or subscribe to the channel. Normally I just do DIY stuff, but I thought this was kind of important with this market to do a video on buying a vehicle. And I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, VK. If you look up Master Tech Mr. B or Auto Scholar Mr. B, I will be on those platforms as well. And I put a lot of this stuff out there as well. So I've got some work to do. I've got more videos coming on this Honda Fit. So if you have one, you may want to subscribe just for that. And we'll see you next time on Auto Scholar and Mr. B.